All right, I'm clicking live now.
Good morning and welcome to First Universalist Church of Yarmouth. My name is Sarah Whitty. I'm a member of the board and I'm also on Congregation Connections. I'm so happy to be greeting you live this morning. It's really good to be together, and some fine day we'll all be in this space again together. Welcome. At First Universalist, our mission is to explore our faith, embrace this community, and to engage the world as spiritual seekers. May we take these words to heart. Before our service begins today, I have a few announcements. Happy Pi Day! It's March 14th, Pi 3.14. Nailed it! Welcome to Pi Day at First Universalist. Everyone's welcome to come by the church grounds this afternoon from 1 to 2:30 for our mini Pi exchange. Reverend Hillary, Gwen, and members of our congregation will be here to welcome you, and you can select one of our many mini pies that the congregation made this week. Most of these pies are frozen, and they can be stored easily or baked right away, or you can save it, and you could have an afternoon snack if you like. First come, first serve, so please come, and we hope to see you soon. That's again from 1 to 2:30 this afternoon, right out in front. And yes, even if you didn't make a pie, you are still welcome to come and pick one up. We have plenty. Here at First Universalist, all are welcome to pie. In a couple of weeks, this is announcement number 2, in a couple of weeks, end-of-life navigator Johanna Munson and Reverend Hillary and I are offering a 3-session course on end-of-life questions. The course will begin on March 25th at 4:30 p.m. on Zoom and run also for the next 2 Thursdays, so 3 Thursday afternoons from 4:30 to 6. During our sessions, we will cover all kinds of practical and theological content rooted in these 3 questions. Where do we start the conversations around death and dying? What can we do now to prepare ourselves and our loved ones? And how will we exit this world? To sign up for this 3-session course, you can contact Gwen by email or click the sign up link in the course posting this week in channels. To honor Johanna's time, we are offering this course at a sliding scale cost. So please reserve your spot today. We would love to see you there. Those are our announcements this morning, but I believe we also have a couple members of our stewardship committee who have some news to share.
Hi, Marge. Happy Pi Sunday.
Hi, Joe. Happy Pi Day to you.
Well, hey, the Joy and Justice e-blast was really good. Are we getting some kind of response to it?
I'm so glad you asked. I had asked Pete to leave a particular pie chart for me, but instead he left me a pie.
Huh?
But let's see, this is what I remember on how we're doing. As of today, we've received commitments of a bit over $100,000 from 40 families.
That's impressive. Are we on track, do you think, to reach a $150,000 goal?
Yeah, it's a bit of a stretch, but it's still possible. With just 2 weeks to go, it's up to the remaining 35 families, which includes 10 perennial families, who I'm hoping each will choose to increase their commitments this year.
Well, that's hopeful. Have the individual pledge amounts themselves increased?
This is what's huge. The average increase is 35%. The range of the increase is 0 to 150%. A couple of families have moved to warmer states, but no one has reduced their commitment.
Huh. So that's amazing. If we continue at this rate, might we get to the point then where any post-COVID fundraising could be used entirely for justice work?
It's possible. I do feel very confident, though, that at least 2/3 of our fundraising dollars will be joyfully for justice.
Great. What sort of justice programs might we invest in?
Well, it's up to the congregation, the board, and Faith in Action, but it will likely include food justice, restorative justice, and climate justice, all which is in line with the spirit of the 8th principle, which the congregation endorsed in January. I am so very excited and grateful for this huge step towards living our principles.
It's wonderful we're getting to the point where our commitment to justice is financially real. Good work.
Thanks, Joe. And it's good work by all. Enjoy pie.
Thank you, Joe and Marge, for that wonderful update. And thanks to all of you who support our community. Thank you, thank you. And now, as we begin our service, let's all take a deep breath. And settle into this sacred time and space that we create together each week. Reverend Hillary will lead us into our worship.
Good morning. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Marge. Thank you, Joe, for starting off our morning with some really good news. Thank you to everyone who has pledged in our annual campaign so far. Your generosity matters and means so much to our whole community. So yes, good, bright, springy, breezy morning. My name is Hillary Collins-Gilpatrick. I'm the minister of First Universalist Yarmouth, and it is with joy that I say, whoever you are, wherever you are from, whomever you love, whatever you've done, whether you like to make pie, to eat pie, or to multiply by your pie's diameter by pi, you're welcome here. And we're so glad you're here. My friends, happy Pi Day again. Yes, March 14th, 3.14, the day of the year celebrated for that irrational, infinite number that is the ratio of every single circle in the universe. Months ago, in a meeting with my committee on ministry, I asked members to tell me about important traditions at First U, the Evergreen Fair, the Farm Supper, Flower Communion, and oh, Pi Day, one of them exclaimed. Pi Day was important. Eating pie together, important. I wrote Pi Day in capital letters at the top of my March calendar in my planner. And as we got closer to the date, in a conversation with another member of our community, I asked, so I know Pi Day is important at First U, but what does the minister tend to talk about that Sunday? Well, I think it would be great if you gave a sermon on math, she responded. I swallowed hard. Okay. Well, okay, I believe was my succinct response. My friends, I can talk about postmodern theories of gender. I can talk about white supremacist culture, about Zen koans, and yes, I can even preach an Easter sermon in a Unitarian church that does not believe in the risen Christ. But I am going to be upfront with you today and say that this Pi Day math sermon has yanked me out of my homiletic comfort zone. And no, I have no idea how to measure the distance between myself and my return to that comfort zone. But as your minister who aims to model steadiness in uncertainty, curiosity in response to challenge, and willingness to, yes, get out of my comfort zone in order to learn something new, today, with the help of Gwen and Sam, we offer you a science-y, mathy, likely irrational, and certainly sweet service in honor of Pi Day. Our opening words are the result of a Google search I did in preparation for this service. That search, what does pi do, turned up a short and lovely article from the New Yorker entitled Why Pi Matters by Cornell professor of mathematics, Stephen Strogatz. He writes, "It's fair to ask, why do mathematicians care so much about pi? Is it some kind of weird circle fixation? Hardly. The beauty of pi, in part, is that it puts infinity within reach. The digits of pi never end and never show a pattern. They go on forever, seemingly at random, except that they can't possibly be random because they embody the order inherent in a perfect circle. The tension between order and randomness is one of the most tantalizing aspects of pi. And what distinguishes pi from all other numbers is its connection to cycles. Whenever we think about rhythms, processes that repeat periodically with a fixed tempo, like a pulsing heart or a planet orbiting the sun, we inevitably encounter pi. Pi appears in the math that describes the gentle breathing of a baby and the circadian rhythms of sleep and wakefulness that governs our bodies. Pi is also intimately associated with waves, from the ebb and flow of the ocean's tide to the electromagnetic waves that let us communicate wirelessly. In short, pi is woven into our descriptions of the innermost workings of the universe." I don't really understand it, but hey, pi sounds pretty sacred to me. And so once again, good morning, my friends. Happy Pi Day. It's good to be together in our collective circle in this collective cycle of life. As I light the symbol of our faith, and probably put pi to use somehow while I do so, won't you join me in our chalice lighting blessing? We light our chalice in peace and friendship. Our opening hymn is number 57, All Beautiful March of Days.
All beautiful the march of days as seasons come and go. The hand that shaped the rose hath wrought the crystal of the snow, hath sent the hoary frost of heaven, the flowing waters sealed, and made a silent loveliness on hill and wood and field. O'er white expanses sparkling clear, the radiant morns unfold. The solemn splendors of the night burn brighter through the cold. Life mounts in every throbbing vein and deepens round the hearth, and clearer sounds the angel hymn, goodwill to all on earth.
Hey, Gwen. Gwen?
Hi, Reverend Hillary.
Gwen, what's going on over there? What are you looking at?
Oh, I'm just looking at one of the greatest miracles of nature.
Oh, wow. Is it a baby narwhal? Or a lion's mane mushroom? Is it a peacock mantis shrimp? Is it a greyhound puppy?
No, but it's right up there. It is a perfectly ripe avocado.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah.
You like avocados too, huh?
Yeah, I love avocados, and it is hard to find a perfectly ripe one up here in Maine. And when I do, I never take for granted all the lengths it took to get that perfectly ripe avocado to me.
Me neither. I think this avocado came all the way from California. I'm sure a lot of people worked really hard to grow it. And a lot of resources like water and oil to get it here were used to get it all the way here to Maine.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, Gwen, thanks for reminding me about all the people and resources needed for something so small. Ripe avocados are a true luxury.
Yeah, they are. I'm really grateful to have one. But you know what? I always get a little frustrated with avocados.
Really? Why is that, Gwen?
Well, because they've got this huge pit right in the middle of them.
What's wrong with that?
I mean, look at the size of this pit. It's like a third of the avocado. It's a lot of work to get the avocado to Maine, and rarely do we manage to find a perfectly ripe one. And then when we do, it's got just this big pit in it. How amazing would it be if we could cut into a perfectly ripe avocado and it was all avocado?
Yeah, that would be pretty amazing and kind of weird. Gwen, you might not believe it, but I really like avocado pits. They're half the reason I like to buy avocados from time to time.
You eat the avocado pits? Okay, when we get back in person, you should probably let other first you folks do the cooking for our community meals.
No, Gwen, I don't eat avocado pits.
Well, what do you like about them? They're hard as rocks. They take up valuable avocado space.
I like to grow them.
Okay, but that's not an avocado pit. That's a little tree.
Exactly.
I'm confused.
I know. It's as mind-boggling as a peacock mantis shrimp, but let me explain. You see, that pit, as we've been calling it, is actually just a big seed.
So, hold up, Hillary. Are you telling me that the sweet little tree came from this rock hard pit?
I am.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Wait, really?
Yes. And Gwen, you can grow one too.
Real? How? Tell me.
Okay, well, growing an avocado plant from an avocado pit is a two-part process.
Okay. Tell me. I'm listening.
Okay, so for the first part, you are off to a great start. You get yourself an avocado, and then, this is the really fun part, you eat the avocado. Oh, and then after you eat your avocado, you save the pit.
Okay.
Okay. And then you get yourself a jar or a glass, sure, and some toothpicks. I like to use 3 toothpicks. And you stick your toothpicks around your avocado pit, like so. You could even stand it up if you wanted, but you're not going to. You want to keep it in this direction, and then put it in your jar, get some water. Pour the water in the jar so it covers your pit, and then find a nice sunny spot to put your pit. And just leave it in that sunny space. And every few days, just have a look at it and make sure it's still covered with water.
Okay. I think let me just check that I have all this.
Yeah.
I have a pit, I have a jar, I have toothpicks, I have a window. Okay, I can definitely follow these directions.
Yeah.
But I still don't really see how this is going to turn into a tree if I just put it in a jar of water.
Gwen, I hear you. And I appreciate that you have provided the perfect segue into part 2 of growing an avocado plant from an avocado pit.
Okay, so what do I need for part 2?
You need a particular state of mind.
So, like the state of mind where I just really want this avocado pit to be a pretty little tree?
Kinda. You see, as we've already noticed, there is going to be a pretty big transformation that occurs for this pit to turn into something like this little tree. And with any big change, we have to make a commitment to be patient, curious, and caring.
So what you're really saying is this is going to take a while.
Okay, so sure, you're not going to have a tree in your jar when you wake up tomorrow morning. But Gwen, if you go about this project with patience, curiosity, and care, then you won't get frustrated. You'll pay attention to the growing process of your pit, and you'll make sure it has what it needs to thrive and grow along the way. I think the whole thing's going to make you really happy.
I hope you're right.
Yeah, and hey, before you know it, your pit will look like this. And then this.
Whoa. When you show those, I get a better idea of how this whole transformation will work.
I know. And I gotta say, it's really nice to have models of radical transformation around my house. Let me show you the most radical. This is my avocado plant that's the size of me, almost a little taller.
Kelly, after this conversation today, of all the wild and miraculous things on this earth, including peacock mantis shrimps, I think seeds might just be the most wild and miraculous of them all.
No, Gwen, I agree completely. Seeds are amazing. When you just think about an avocado pit growing into a avocado tree, or a little acorn growing into a giant oak tree, or even a teeny tiny little dandelion fluff growing into a big yellow flower, it makes you realize how much change is possible in this world, and how change is a natural part of like the beauty of being alive. Why would we resist change and keep parts of ourselves as pits when they could grow into beautiful living things, you know?
Absolutely. And thinking about growing my own avocado plants makes me wonder about all the radical transformations that naturally happen or could happen in this world when things are given the right ingredients to grow.
Absolutely, Gwen. Ah, okay, I'm gonna let you get to your avocado plant growing process. Let me know if you need me to come by and give your avocado pit a blessing or anything. Also, I'm totally happy to eat any other perfectly ripe avocados you have lying around your house.
I think we're good. I have a pit, I have a jar, I have toothpicks, I have water, I have sunshine, and I have patience, curiosity, and care.
Ah, perfect. That's it. You've got it. Okay, well, amen. Let it be so. And hey, Gwen, let it grow. My friends, we now come to the time in our service that we set aside for quiet prayer and meditation. So I invite you now to set down your coffee or your avocado pit and just take a moment to find your breath, that sacred cycle of inhale and exhale, and just be present to your body, your feelings, and your heart at this time. Won't you join me now for a sacred time of quiet? For all that can be expressed, for all that we hold inside, for all that we don't even have the words to explain. We hear you, we hold you, and we wish you continued joy, immediate comfort, a path forward, and the seeds of peace. Amen. Let it be so.
In honor of our first principle, the inherent worth and dignity of every person, this week's offering is shared with Maine TransNet, a community-based organization led by transgender people for transgender people. Maine TransNet provides peer-to-peer support groups, advocacy for transgender community across Maine, and transgender cultural competency training for health and social service providers. Maine TransNet engages trans folk and allies across the state in the practice of community building and organizing for mutual liberation. Mutual liberation. You are invited to make your offering using the donate button in the order of worship. By clicking on this button, you will be taken to Give Butter, a virtual giving site that accepts your card number, PayPal, or Venmo account. You may also give your offering by dropping a check in the mail or using your bank's free online bill pay feature. For gifts offered and gifts received, we are grateful. Thank you.
So I was considering some sort of nerdy approaches to figuring out how to do the offertory. I considered maybe I could write a piece in pi 4. No, I don't know. Or maybe if I used a pitch set using the numbers in pi. 3, 1, 4, 1, 5, 9, 2, 6, 5, 3, 5, 9. Maybe not. So instead I'm just going to play you a piece that I wrote several years back called Intergalactic Space Travel in Your Mind.
Thank you, Sam, for that intergalactic space travel in my mind. Our reading today is an excerpt from an essay entitled A Mathematician's Lament by Paul Lockhart. He's an advanced mathematician who devoted his career to teaching elementary school math. A Mathematician's Lament is both his ode to the unparalleled art, poetry, and beauty of math, and also a scathing critique of K through 12 mathematics education. It's easy to find on the web, and I highly recommend it to both math lovers and haters alike. Lockhart writes, "The first thing to understand is that mathematics is an art. The difference between math and other arts, such as music and painting, is that our culture does not recognize it as such. Everyone understands that poets, painters, and musicians create works of art and are expressing themselves in word, image, and sound. In fact, our society is rather generous when it comes to creative expression. Architects and chefs, even television directors, are considered to be working artists. So why not mathematicians? Part of the problem is that nobody has the faintest idea what it is that mathematicians do. The common perception seems to be that mathematicians are somehow connected with science. Perhaps they help the scientists with their formulas or feed big numbers into computers for some reason or another. There is no question that if the world had to be divided into the poetic dreamers and the rational thinkers, most people would place mathematicians in the latter category. Nevertheless, the fact is that there is nothing as dreamy and poetic, nothing as radical, subversive, and psychedelic as mathematics. It is every bit as mind-blowing as cosmology or physics. Mathematicians conceived of black holes long before astronomers actually found any. And it allows freedom of expression, and it allows more freedom of expression than poetry, art, or music, which depend heavily on properties of the physical universe. Mathematics is the purest of the arts, as well as the most misunderstood." When it was suggested that I preach on math this morning, I went into a dissociative state and then a state of regression. I found myself reliving a vivid memory of a high school math class. It was Algebra 2, in fact, my junior year, Lewiston High School, mid-December, right after midterms, right before Christmas break, and right at the end of the fall semester. It was minutes to the end of class, and I, like everyone, already had my desk cleared, bag packed, and was ready to stand up and get out of that room at the first clang of the bell. Along with multiple pounds of textbooks stuffed in my LL Bean bag were Pop-Tart wrappers, notes from friends, my Sony Discman, and my Algebra 2 midterm. A stapled, crumpled bunch of papers that had a lot of blank space and a lot of red ink on them. The bell rang, and like a shot going off at the 400-meter race, everyone immediately made a dash for the classroom door. "Hillary!" Oh no. "Hillary, come over here, please." My Algebra 2 teacher was sitting at his desk. He took a deep breath and rolled his eyes as he beckoned me with his hand. I took a deep breath and winced as I walked over. He'd been my math teacher for the past 2 years. We knew each other quite well. This was not the first time he'd waved me over after class. "Hillary, I want you to know that my Christmas present to you this year is a D. That's a passing grade. It is not your actual grade, and that's why it's a Christmas present. Anything less would mean you would need to start over and take Algebra 2 with me again next year. And neither of us wants that, do we? No. No, we don't. Thank you. You're welcome, Hillary. And if you do your homework, study for your exams, show your work, and just try for the rest of the year, you might still fail, but I will not give you an F. Okay, that sounds good. And one last thing. If you pass this class, you will have fulfilled all of your math credits. And my advice to you, Hillary, let this be your last math class. Do that for yourself and for me, okay? Yeah, okay. Merry Christmas, Hillary. You're passing my class. Thank you. Merry Christmas to you too. Bye. As someone who became a high school teacher, I am well aware that my math teacher possessed a terrible pedagogy. In his defense, though he was not a good teacher, he was a good guy. He was funny and friendly and never looked to cause trouble for anybody. And yeah, he definitely was in charge of teaching all the lowest level math classes at Lewiston High School, which, like every class at the time, met for 90-minute blocks. I'm sure it was a brutal teaching load. I know, just sitting through one 90-minute remedial math class every other day was absolute torture, and I was just doodling the whole time. I recall, actually, to help move the clock along during these endless stretches of time, my teacher would spend the first 10 minutes of class reading out loud all the arrests and court dates listed in the Lewiston Sun-Journal that day, noting whether any of the names printed were kids he once had in class. Let that be a moral lesson to you, he'd offer as a benediction to this daily ritual. And now, my fine youth, a math lesson for you. If you haven't gathered by now, it was the rituals, the conversations, the feelings that I remember from math class, not the math. I recall that mid-semester conversations simultaneously hurt my feelings and provided great relief. And more than anything, it transformed an assumption I held about myself into a truth of who I was. I was not smart enough to do math. I would remain an avocado pit in the realm of mathematics. There would be no growth for me. There was no patience, curiosity, or care to be found there. No radical transformation for me or my teacher. In his Mathematician's Lament, Paul Lockhart describes the standard school mathematics curriculum as a complete prescription for permanently disabling young minds and a proven cure for curiosity. A proven cure for curiosity. The thesis of his essay, which my partner Alexis was assigned a few years ago for a Harvard education class, is that math is not a set of facts to memorize or regurgitate, nor is it a language, nor is it something you can learn by doing 20 problems from a textbook every night. Math is an art, it's poetry, it's a playground of the imagination. Paul Lockhart compares the way K-12 math is taught to that of a painting class, wherein students never paint, but rather memorize the names of colors, the types of paintbrushes, and practice dipping a brush in paint and cleaning it off. Maybe during their junior or senior year, if they have the color wheel worksheet memorized, they might be able to take a paint by numbers class. It's heartbreaking to see what is being done to mathematics in school, Lockhart writes. This rich and fascinating adventure of the imagination has been reduced to a sterile set of facts to be memorized and procedures to be followed. Gone is the thrill, the joy, even the pain and frustration of creative art. By concentrating on the way and leaving out the why, mathematics is reduced to an empty shell. I've never been great at memorizing. It's probably why I became a UU minister, likely one of the few faiths in the world where you will surprise members of your community if you can recite its core tenets, its principles by heart. As I read Lockhart's piece and reflected on my math education, I felt a deep longing. Why couldn't have I learned the poetry of math, the art of math? What even is that? Sounds amazing. In my baffled state while Googling what does pi do, I came across an article in Live Science magazine that helped me better understand the poetry and art of math. It says, pi is an irrational number, meaning its exact value is inherently unknowable. Billions of digits of pi have been calculated, but because no recognizable pattern emerges in the succession of its digits, we could continue calculating the next digit and the next and the next and the next for millennia, and we'd still have no idea which digit might emerge next. The digits of pi continue their senseless procession all the way to infinity. Ancient mathematicians apparently found the concept of irrationality completely maddening. It struck them as an affront to the omniscience of God. How could the Almighty know everything if numbers exist that are inherently unknowable? Pi appears everywhere there's a circle, such as the disk of the sun, the spiral of the DNA double helix, the pupil of the eye, the concentric rings that travel outward from splashes in ponds. Pi also appears in the physics that describes waves, such as the ripples of light and sound. It even enters into the equation that defines how precisely we can know the state of the universe. Finally, pi emerges in the shapes of rivers. A river's windiness is determined by its meandering ratio. And as it turns out, the average meandering ratio of rivers approaches pi. How cool is that? I don't understand it, but I understand that something is happening out there, and it's poetic. It's meandering, rippling, spiraling, and it's all connected by the same thing. I'm not sure about you all, but I love learning new concepts that completely change my perspective on the world. Perhaps this is why I seek out opportunities to uncover and dismantle racism, to break down the binaries of gender and sexuality, to welcome in that big, expansive concept of God in my day-to-day life, to watch avocado pits grow into avocado trees. I'm sure that knowing the art and poetry of math would radically transform a perspective on the world and the complexity of its myriad beings. Though no, despite all my Googling and all the time I spent watching YouTube math channels for children, I still don't really understand what pi does. But from what I can gather though, no one really does. Pi seems to be a thing that confounds everyone, including the omniscient, almighty gods. And in this sense, though I don't understand the function of pi, I can grasp the art and poetry of it. Pi is not bound by a structure or a limit or a certain way of behaving or remaining. It is boundless, infinite, always going, always transforming and twirling the cycles, spirals, circles, and ripples of the universe along the way. My friends, our congregation here at First U is akin to a classroom. It's a place where we commit to learning, practicing, asking, showing our work, and trying. We all take time being teachers, and we all have our turn being students. And thankfully, there are no grades here, no concept of failure, but there are moments when we turn into pits. Perhaps during conversations about whiteness, perhaps when the word God is mentioned, perhaps when we can't seem to get a mini pie crust to hold up in a mini pie tin. Pit happens. And in these pity times come opportunities for all of us to practice patience, curiosity, and care, which is the whole point of why we belong to a spiritual community, to grow and explore as we help others grow and explore. Let that be a lesson to us. My friends, a Pi Day blessing upon us all, that we experience boundless radical transformation in our hearts and minds, transformations that always lead to goodness, poetry, art, joy, justice, peace, and friendship. Amen. Let it be so to infinity and beyond. Now, let's have some pie. Our closing hymn this spring ahead day is number 1005, Praise in Springtime.
Praise to God and thanks we bring, hearts rejoice and voices sing. Praise to the glorious one, for a year of wonder done. Praise now for the budding green, April's resurrection scene. Praise now for the shining hours, starring all the land with flowers. Praise now for the summer rain, feeding day and night with grain. Praise now for the tiny seed, holding all the world shall need. Praise now for the garden root, meadow grass and orchard fruit, and for hills and valleys broad. Bring down to thanks to God. Praise now for the snowy rest, falling soft on nature's breast, for the happy dreams of birth, rooting in the quiet earth, for this year of wonder done. Praise to the glorious one, hearts rejoice and voices sing. Praise and love and thanks we bring.
May all beings be free of suffering and the causes of suffering. May we all experience profound joy and the causes of profound joy. May we all be free, free to grow, free to transform, and free to help one another along the way. My friends, won't you join me in our closing benediction? For those who come here seeking God, may God go with you. For those who come embracing life, may life return your affection. For those who come to seek a path, may a way be found and the courage to take it step by step. Our service has ended. All are welcome to join us for coffee hour on Zoom in a few minutes. And I do hope I get to see a few of you for pie, 1 o'clock on our church grounds.